All right, welcome everybody. I meant to do this last night. As you can see, it's daylight out. I meant to do this last night, but it was like 4 a.m. and I honestly wanted to get it out before the Crystal Palace game today, because I half expected that as long as he made the team sheet, we would be talking about this. And lo and behold, you know, I won't ruin it for anybody. We'll get there in due time. The topic today, if you can't tell already by the video title, is Harry Maguire and the problem Manchester United has with Harry Maguire. And for the life of me, I still do not understand how or why anybody gave this guy a contract extension on the wages that he's currently making. I mean, there's a reason he was dropped for as long as he was in favor of people like Varane instead in the middle. And I think there was kind of a palate cleansing. He was dropped because he wasn't good enough. We were shown he wasn't good enough and what a kind of center back pairing looks like and how it should function with proper leadership and somebody really dictating that line and holding it. And there was that palate cleanser. And now that Varane is gone, we bring Maguire back in because he's really only one of our few options as a central center back. If you don't take into account De Ligt, who I think is much better. And I will clarify, this isn't Player FC. This isn't really agenda driven. I won't say I've had it out for Maguire for a long period of time. I don't want to say that he's been an admiration of mine either. I mean, I haven't been happy with him for a long time, and so I was glad to see him dropped. But now that he's back in, I think a lot of people are sitting there praising the redemption arc that really has nothing to do with him and more has to do with the club's business dealings, right? Yeah, we brought in De Ligt, but we're managing his minutes. And so what other options do we have? Evans, Lindelof? We don't really have great depth in that position anyway. So it's not like he's come back into the first team through this great redemption arc of, look, you got to put in the work, you got to, be great and kind of get up and do it all over again, dust yourself off and perform at the highest level that is expected of you. No, he hasn't done that. He's just sort of become the de facto default center back that's just like, well, I guess we have him, so we have to play him. And then you get all these English pundits who are saying, oh my God, Maguire has been amazing. And I see it on other fan channels too, saying like, oh, Maguire over the past few months has been amazing. He's been, the best defender. He hasn't, though. He's offered almost fuck all going forward offensively. I saw, who was it, Rio or Neville? One of the two. I think it was Rio. And it was Rio during a live broadcast, so it wasn't even like after the fact, but he was commentating and it was like, oh, he scores most of those, and this is like a few games back. I forget the exact match, but Maguire got on the end of the ball in the box, in the opposition's box, and it's like, oh, he scores most of those. I'm like, no, he doesn't. He's got like 3 goals over the last 3 years. Like he's not a goal scoring threat. So, people that keep saying, oh, he's great with his head, like what has he actually proven to be great with his head? He's not up there putting up, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe goals a season with his head or, getting into dangerous positions. I'm not saying that he has to be our top goal scorer, but like, let's calm down and actually assess the stats of what he contributes going forward. It's not that great. But then defensively, he's been terrible. And I don't know what people watch when they watch the matches, because I'm sitting there and I'm analyzing everybody's position on the field relative to one another and how we have this 3-4-3 system. And I understand there's different permutations of that where, we will drop to like a back 5, because really when you think about the 3-4-3, and I won't get into like the whole system, if you will, but like that 4 is very fluid, right? Such that you really have a double pivot in that 4, that 3-4-3, right? And it's up to those wide players to really provide you the overload in any area of the pitch at any given time, such that you have the back 3. So those 2 drop into a back 5 to give you a 5 wide defensive line, which should be pretty stable and pretty resilient. Then they shift into that midfield 4, where at best, you're going kind of toe-to-toe with most other teams, unless they're playing like a 3-5-2. But, even if they're playing a 4-4-2 or 4-3-2-1, then maybe you get a 5. But anyway, right? A 4 should be pretty resilient there, and that's where you get the 3 at the top. Basically, the 2 10s dropping in to make that a 6, right? And so you basically have your 4 wide, and you have your 2 10s to make sort of, what is that? Quadrangle. In the middle there with the 2 wide players. And so you have basically a 6 there. And then, of course, in the final third, you've got, if you say the 3, then you've got the 2 wingers up there, and then you get the 5 there, right? So it's very fluid in how it should always overload the area of the pitch that you're in, right? Whether it be a 5, a 6, or a 5. I digress a little bit, but basically what I'm saying is that in the back 3 of the system, you really need that 3 to be solid. It needs to be cohesive. Guys. Sorry, cats. Sorry. You really need that 3 to be solid. You need your central center back in that system to dictate the line, right? That is sort of your last defense between your defense and your keeper. The thing that really exposed Harry Maguire over the past few years, and why, again, he was dropped for a period of time, is that under Erik ten Hag, he wanted to play a high line. And we were seeing so many instances where teams would just break through the midfield because you had the defense that dropped off so far back because they didn't want to play the high line. And a lot of times Maguire was in that, where they're so afraid of playing that high line that now you've got 20 yards of space between your pivot and your defensive line, and it just creates a nightmare for everybody. We're seeing that again. And I'll say this. I don't know if it's Amorim telling Maguire to do this. I don't know if it's Maguire doing it. I don't know if Amorim fully sees it. He's got to see it. He has to see it in the footage. So I'm not quite sure why we haven't corrected yet, but it has come up time and time again, and he does it. And listen, I'm going to show you here screenshots because unfortunately, due to copyrights, I can't just play the videos, but I implore you, if you are at all interested in supporting this narrative whatsoever, or doing your own research, go back, watch the highlights. Some of these aren't even necessarily goals will come out of these, but it just goes to show that whether he's at fault for a goal or not, he is doing this. He does it every match, all match. And it is a massive problem. So without further ado, because I've kind of dragged this out, I don't even know what time we're at. We're at 8 minutes. Let's jump into the screenshots, and I will just start showing you examples, and then I'll get into today's match, because spoiler alert. I don't think that was enunciated well. Spoiler alert. He's at it again. All right, so this one is against Fulham. There's a few here. It's going to be Fulham, Brighton, and then today. But again, basically any match Maguire's in, whether he starts or comes in as a sub, you can go back and see the same pattern. So what do we have here? We have Fulham in possession here. And we've got, right, this is, I think, Højlund. We've got Ahmad. I think, I'm going to say this is Ugarte, Bruno, who dat? Collier, maybe? One of these is Collier, probably? I don't know. Anywho, that's not important. We've got the ball here, right? Look at where his eyes are. He's kind of in this area here, and I'm sorry, my drawing is not going to be great. But you can see where he's looking, right? He's not interested anything here. He's not looking infield. He says, I've got 3 options up here. I can either try to play the ball around here into this space. This ball's probably not really on, like, into here. And then he's got this guy, right? But that's kind of where he's looking at. But here's the problem. So now you've got this defensive line where I'll kind of draw it, where you've got these two. That probably should be a little bit more to the right, but that's okay. You've got those two holding that line. Then you've got Martinez kind of dropping off a little bit deeper, but honestly, if you were to draw this line a little bit more accurately, he's probably offside, if the ball were to come right now. And then you've got our dear old friend Maguire, who's just playing this guy on until infinity, right? He will run the full length of the pitch before he plays this guy offsides, because he is just so terrified of playing a high line. And at this point, it's not even a high line, right? Like, ball's on the halfway line. It's not even a high line. It's not like we're even controlling possession. And again, you'll see this in and out of possession, which is the problem, right? Again, these are just screenshots, but if you actually pay attention going forward, each of these matches, you'll see it in and out of possession. He is afraid to play the high line. So it doesn't matter if possession is up here or if we're defending, right, out of possession, we're back here. He does this. But so he's playing this guy on. So even if the ball was released right now into space back here, that ball's on, right? I mean, that's an option. Again, he could play it over the top into space out here. If this player were to get on his horse and make the run out there, maybe he could. That would be questionable. But because of this fear of the high line, right, of being a little bit more compact, we have this space here that exists now, right? You've got Bruno behind his man. You've got Martinez kind of alert, but maybe covering, for this guy here, because Maguire's playing him so deep. This guy can come into space. Like, there are several options here in our formation. No. Before I even go down that road, strike that. Not formation, our shape. It has nothing to do with formation, because I know people right now are blaming the 3-4-3. It has nothing to do with the 3-4-3, and everything to do with the lack of discipline of our players. So yeah, as you can see, Maguire, he's always 2 to 3 yards deeper than everybody else. And what this does, and you'll kind of see it illustrated here in a little bit, what this really also does, so not only is this space exposed here, what happens is that oftentimes the ball, whether it be central, and sometimes you'll see this in matches where it'll be more central here, maybe usually not as wide. What you'll typically see is then the ball central and the wide options be available, because what Maguire does when he does this is he gives the narrow option, right? This central option. He gives this a lot of power over the team, and it forces the players around him to cover, right? So De Ligt has to worry about this guy. Martinez needs to worry about this guy. And so they're forced into a more narrow position, and I get it. The 3-4-3 inherently is a bit more narrow. And again, until you drop to like that back 5, if you will. I mean, this is still low? I don't know. Maybe that's still low. And this is the 5 here. It's so blurry. I just took a screenshot again. I'm really focused on Maguire here. But anyway, right. So you get the 3 that is a little bit more narrow intrinsically because of the system. Again, I'm not faulting the system. It's just that you have to understand when Maguire drops like this and has this sort of inverted triangle going on here, it forces these 2 on either side of him to also be responsible for just this one guy. You're effectively saying this one guy has power over these 3 because of Maguire's position, and because he can't play that offside trap, right? If you just step up a few more yards, if you play in line, even with Martinez, right? Even just this couple of yards here, this guy is no longer a threat because you can just keep stepping up and forcing him offside. And so now, instead of 3 options, especially an option in behind the back, you now just have these 2, which again, we've already identified this guy's really not an option. So maybe at best this is an option. If Martinez just steps up, right, like this is sort of a contested area here. So then instead of looking forward to 3 options, 2 options, he then has to look, infield or back. Maguire does this all the fucking time, and it pisses me off. So that's example 1. Example 2. Here we go again. All right, you can see sort of on the break. The ball is here. You can't really see it, but basically options here. Could really do an option there if he wanted, if he had like good left foot. You see Maguire again, right? You've got Martinez, you've got De Ligt, you've got Mazraoui down here. But again, at the very least, this guy would be offside. That guy's not an option in this world. If Maguire isn't here, I cannot stress that enough, and it pisses me off to no fucking end. And then the best part about all of this is that Maguire then has the gall, because when you actually watch this back, Maguire is telling De Ligt with this Hitler salute to go mark this guy. Instead of, I mean, I get it, because Maguire should be the central option, but you've got Martinez here, you've got Mazraoui here, nobody's here, right? And so he's making this De Ligt's responsibility, and he keeps backing off in this moment. He keeps backing off. He doesn't intercept that. He doesn't step up. He keeps backing off. He keeps going back that way. Instead of allowing De Ligt to step up and intercept this play, he's telling him, get back, get back, get back, get back. Because I don't want to cover that guy. He's already off to the races. I'm at a standstill. Right? I'm not even reacting. Not even fucking reacting. But he's 4 or 5 yards away, right? Yeah. He does this every single fucking time. Anyway, that's another scenario. But he does this. He keeps the shape. He always sits this deep. Again here. This actually isn't the same play. It's just funny that he keeps doing this. Call him Hitler or Harry Hitler, because the guy is fucking fan of the Nazi salute. I swear to God. But yeah, what's he doing here? So here it's actually a little bit different, in that he wasn't deep for once, but again, and this kind of goes back to my point, in shape. So he either sits too deep, or he does the inverse, obviously, which is that he's too far ahead. And this wasn't like we were kind of in possession and just turned it over cheaply, and so this is why he's out of position, and you screenshotting this is, an affront to his character. No. He was just chilling out there. He was caught in no man's land. He's almost as high as Ugarte here. There's no excuse for it. But you can see, right, Martinez, even this guy is currently offside. And this is also what I'm talking about. So whether it be dropping deep or coming up too high, this is another good example that I wanted to point out with this. As you can see here, I think the passage of play was here. But again, it shows you that the threat with Maguire is that they love to do this. They love to play the ball out wide, whether it start there or goes here. You play out wide, you get a man or two central crashing in to the middle here, and now that service comes into the middle, and it completely beats out Maguire. Even when he's deeper, they'll just cut in front of him, right? He'll kind of keep dropping off to fill this space. They'll cut in front of him and just take that ball off him all day long. And that's happened too. Again, I can't play this and I don't want to play this in a straight up video and get banned or copyright, restricted or whatever happens, copyright stuff. But yeah, this happens nonstop. So again, the real issue with Maguire is that he forces to play out wide with his positioning, and then it comes back through the middle, and this is oftentimes where we concede. So it's doing that. And this angle maybe doesn't look as bad. It looks bad, right? But so this is the other angle. And again, I'm sorry about the quality of this. It's terrible. They're just, no, I'm not going to say it. But these are screenshots. I'm not going to say it. But I apologize for the quality. But so this, I think, really illustrates a picture of just how bad this is. Because honestly, actually, let me go back. I didn't even pick up this guy here, right? So in this screenshot, we really only see who dat? Who is that? I think that's the Ligt. So who's this? Delo? I think it's Delo, right? I don't know players' names off the top of my head, at least not all of them, but I think that's Delo. Anyway, but yeah, so in this, I mean, you see, we're going to say Delo. If not, I apologize, whoever you are. Over here, we've got Maguire here, we've got Martinez here. But then actually we have Mizraoui and then this other guy over here. So again, I'm talking about poor positioning, right? Not keeping the not keeping the discipline of this line. And it's again forcing the ball out wide into more central threats that crash the central area. And it's a problem. So yeah. Anyway, just wanted to show you this because I think that this really shows you just how far out he is. You know, he is in no man's land. And I think this next one, yep, this is all the same play where he still hasn't caught up to the play, right? This guy has continued to run. And this ball, at this point, I think the next touch is basically in here, but he slightly overruns it, it gets behind him, and then he sort of goes out here and it fizzles out. And again, this is Fulham. Against a different quality side, I mean, this is just an easy ball in. This is just then an easy tap in. And that's that, you know? I mean, Onana comes out, you just play it around him, you know, because he's sort of near post, if you will, at this point. And you just go back post, and that's it. You're done. But yeah, Maguire never recovered from this. Martinez, you could argue, maybe, should have done better. Right. At this point, sort of neck and neck. At this point, his man's sort of beating him. He's got the inside. At this point, he's just gone. But yeah, Maguire just the Hiller salute to nobody. Absolutely nobody. All right, so that's that example. I think that's Fulham. So then we switch into the Brighton match. Again, same shit. Look at our back three, if you will. What is the shape? Come on, guys, what is the shape? And again, this is in possession, right? And so this is what I'm talking about, is that it happens in and out of possession. And you can say, well, why would he be further up? You know, because there's a player here. I understand that, but at the same time, you have to... There's... This goes for everybody. There's a lot of lazy movement off the ball. There's a lot of just... Staticness a word? A lot of static non-movement. We'll go with that. In that, yeah, I think this was swung around, if I remember correctly. But even in that case, start making up those yards a little bit. Right? If this option isn't on and the ball comes back here, then you drop a little bit. And you are aware of this. But the harsh reality is that he gets the ball. Got 1, 2, 3. You know, this basically isn't an option here. But you've got 3 Brighton players closing in on this ball. Again, can't remember exactly what happens in the video. I think it just goes back. This, you can argue, probably really isn't a great option. More than likely, though, we lose the ball in this position. Right? Even if in this moment we have seen these 5-yard passes that we just failed to do. And we likely lose the ball in this moment. And now, say he closes in, takes the ball. You've got 2 options here with acres of space, right? You can go this way, you can go this way. That gap is massive. Like, you need to be cheating back up, especially in relation to De Ligt here, right? And especially in relation to their highest man being onside, right, this entire time. You need to close that in to take that option away, such that if he does start a run, all you do is just step up. Instead of trying to step up 15 yards, you step up 1 yard, and he's offside at that point, right? Like, it's the little things that Maguire doesn't do, and again, in terms of shape, look at how terrible the shape is. It's a triangle. I like triangles. I love triangles. They're great people, triangles. But yeah, not in this position. At the very least, what this triangle needs to look like is something like this, right? Lick should be here. Maguire should be here. And this is where I'm going back to. Even if we turn over the ball here, Welbeck has a couple yards to start running if he really wants to start to break. Maguire has 1-2 yards the other way here. Take him off. Right, so unless that ball is played first time on the break, and if it is, kudos, that's nullified, right? And again, I put that triangle here. I mean, honestly, you want to go match Welbeck and make that sort of the triangle. That's getting a little messy, but you'd probably want the triangle to look something more like that, right? Such that you have that 2 yards, and then you either go with him or you step up and let him go offside at the halfway line. But yeah, I mean, that's getting it to like just the shape again. This does us no fucking favors. Holy shit. And again, you know, and you say, oh, this is just this one moment, but you see the pattern of how this turns into this, right? Like it's that lack of shape that we see this consistently time and time again, where it's either too deep or too high, right? And when I say that, like, you know, when I say too high, like the last part, him being higher doesn't change the shape at all, right? It's not this triangle that, you know, was from the previous clip. It's just a shallower triangle where, again, even if he wants to sit a little bit deeper, that's okay, right? But you're playing that offside trap at that point. But he is just scared shitless of playing high. He does not want to be up here. He does not feel comfortable in this area. You will always find him camped out here, basically. Very rarely, if we're, you know, playing kind of in their final third, you'll see him here, but he still looks very uncomfortable. You know, of course, obviously when he's involved with set pieces, that's a totally different story. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about in and out of possession. This is, yeah, atrocious. Oh, actually, we'll get into it. Let's get into it here. I kind of move these screenshots around a bit. So that was still at 19 minutes, right? Or 1-0 down. This is a 0-0. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This is 3 minutes, and we'll get into it because this screenshot is after the goal, right? So we'll talk about that in a second. But again, here, you see the back five. Not the best, you know, but you've got, at least at this point, Mazraoui as the deepest outside of Maguire, but you have to look at where he's trying to position himself relative to Maguire, right? He is positioned that deep because Maguire, again, is inviting that pressure. I think the ball is... I don't think the ball is over here. I don't think there was like a blurry frame. I think the ball is over here somewhere, just out of frame. I think this is where I'm talking about sort of the ball in a wide area, Maguire sitting deep, and it invites all of this pressure centrally. Because rather than keeping a higher line, right, of course, even if he were here, you still have those runners looking to get off the shoulder there. But you don't have that leadership like you did with Varane, for example, where you keep that high line and you're basically instructing everybody like, no, close these guys down. And we step up, right? Like the second that ball is played, we all step up and play the offside trap. I'm not saying it's foolproof, but this sure as hell is just inviting a lot of pressure, right? Again, because he's in, he's across, he's across, he's across. Like all of these channels are now exposed because of how deep he is in relation to the play. Right? All of these players see. Okay, Dave is back. He has his back to him. But all of these players can see I have another 5 yards to run. I can start my run now into these channels because of this guy. There's no threat to being played offside in this position, even with the ball deeper and out of frame in a wider area. So we saw that 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes roughly. A minute later, they score. Why? Slightly different, but again, I mean, not every situation is always painted the same. This is, of course, the ball in a central position, but this is what I'm talking about. You get Mazraoui De Ligt, I think this is Delo, playing, a relative line. I think maybe even Delos is playing him on in a situation. But again, I rather fault somebody on the far side not looking across and keeping that line than somebody who is 5 yards deeper than everybody else, who's playing 2 players on at this point. It doesn't matter where this ball goes. This ball can go into this area. I'll look at that. This ball can go into this area. This ball can go over the top and behind into this area. Maguire's position here, relative to everybody else, is dog shit. It hurts us. It is killing us. And you can see Mitoma's on his bike because Mazraoui is standing still relatively, right? Like, he sees the ball, but at this point he's thinking, well, I don't know. Maybe I can't remember if he tried to step up or not. But the option to step up isn't even there. Right? He can't even try to play the offside trap because this guy is just so far back. And again, you can maybe argue Delo is back there too. But for this narrative, let's really focus on the greatest offender here. Yeah. So they score from this. Because again, the ball gets played into this space and Mitoma attacks, and then the rest is history, right? Goes, tap in. And it's just that easy. Because again, you play the ball out wide, Maguire sits deep, the ball stays out wide, the ball goes central to this guy, moves into that space, and that's all she wrote. It just happens time and time. You go wide against Maguire, he sits deep, he invites that pressure, he opens up the channels, you put the ball back in the middle, and it's not even immediately, it's not like first time, right? I mean, he goes on this run, and then it's, towards the end, but you don't recover from that. Right? And it just takes one well-placed pass to beat out Maguire, because at that point, you are so far deep. You have taken out De Ligt, you have taken out Mazraoui, you have taken out Delo. You've taken out your double pivot. By you standing here, you have fucked your entire team. That's the goal. But yeah, again, we see it, doesn't learn from it. 1-0 down, 18 minutes, like, he does this. And again, this was just one. I was just scanning through the match, just looking for an example. So, you jump over many instances of these. And these are also, again, just what's in frame. It's not even what's happening out of frame, right? This is from the broadcast view. If you're actually sitting in the ground, you see this. You see the full picture, always, of Maguire being in this position. Terrible. And then, may I turn your direction to, spoiler alert, alert, alert. Let's play the game. Let's play the game. Now, class, if we've been paying attention up to this point, what do we see? Give you a second. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you said Maguire is all the way the fuck back here, tell them what they've won, Bob. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. Ball's here. He has to carry it another 10-ish yards, 10, 12-ish yards. Maguire wasn't back here. And was instead stood here. So I think this is Bruno tracking back. I mean, really, Bruno shouldn't have to be marking him. Bruno should be here. marking him, you know, like the double pivot should be occupying this space. And Bruno's lack of discipline positionally too is a massive problem. The pair of them are suicidal for this team. But anyway, he should really be here. Double pivot should be kind of controlling this space. You've got this space controlled. Bello should really just kind of be holding wide. Euro should be up. Maguire should be where Bruno is. And then all of a sudden, even though this threat is kind of looming, he has to keep carrying the ball if your line is high. Because he's off, right? All you do is you step up, he's off. Doesn't matter what the hell this guy does. And now, if he's off, right, if you've got your line there, because we'll say it should be Maguire, and you step up, he's off. He's no longer part of the picture. You have this guy who should have Euro stepping up, Delo stepping in, Eriksen could be stepping out, and you'd have Bruno here, again, occupying this double pivot here. This guy's out of the picture. This guy would be out of the picture. This guy would be out of the picture. This guy is basically out of the picture, right? So your options at this point, I think it's Mateta. No, that's Mateta. Don't call me racist. Let's not name names. This guy here with the ball. Basically his only option at that point. He can't just run into his guy. So he's got to either run out wide here, you know, or kind of recycle play, and that's that. But no, because Maguire is here, you have this space that this guy runs into, you have this space that this guy runs into, you have this space that this guy runs into, you have this space that this guy runs into. Again, should be kind of marked, but Bruno's basically taking responsibility of Maguire's man. And again, as I said earlier, Maguire will drop off indefinitely. He will continue this run back before he ever steps up. He does not want to step up. He does not want to get caught out in a high line. He will keep running back, which forces Bruno to run back, which just makes this space completely empty as the play progresses. And then, as I said, right, as the play progresses, so when we're talking about that space, honestly, I took the screenshot, wasn't even really thinking about this. It's just 2 seconds, how this play progresses. So what do we see? Exactly what I'm saying, right? We've got this sort of not really being the option, where it wasn't, at least, again, if the high line is played. But you see where the pass is about to come from. I hope you do. What's going on here? There we go. The pass is obviously about to be played. But again, Euro, like, this guy's offside. Don't think this guy's offside. So, I mean, arguably, that ball is still on, kind of. But again, if Maguire isn't sat so deep, if he's not 3, 4 or so yards off of everybody else, even if that ball is on, then you kind of blame Euro. You say, listen, man, I was up here. I was holding this line, right? I stepped up. You have to be aware of you kind of have to check right around you. You have to be alert to that. You've got Delict playing a little bit high up. You've got Delo who's stepping up. You've got Bruno tracking back again. As I said, this whole space is just empty because Bruno's is now covering this guy who he'll never get to, by the way, right? Like, this is done. Bruno's not marking that guy anymore. That should be Maguire's guy, but it's not really. Because again, you've got this thread in behind. You know, this guy going here. So Maguire's kind of stepping up here. He's ignoring this guy back here. And honestly, I forget even how this play unfolds. I could look it up. It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter how this play unfolds. It doesn't matter if this ball goes here or if it goes there. The fact of the matter is that Maguire doesn't dictate where the line is, right? He does dictate how deep it sits, but unlike Varane, he's not that guy holding it together. He is not dictating or leading that back line and saying, no, this is where we are. These guys, fuck them. These guys, no. Because we're going to hold our line here. We're going to play that high line. I have the confidence that as long as we all keep our shape, I almost said the F word again. As long as we keep our shape, right? These guys are useless. This ball is not on then. But because of this fucking guy here, this goddamn clown, it's on. And they score from this. And that just seals the deal. I think that's the last screenshot, yeah. If, again, spoiler alert, but obviously if you watch it, you know what happens next. But so frustrating, as I've said. And this is just over the course of like 3 matches. And again, even just multiple times in a match. So you compound that over not just the 3 matches, every match he plays throughout the entire match. And this happened against Rangers. I didn't even pull up the Rangers example. This is how Rangers almost won the game against us too, is because Maguire dropped deep. I forget his name, but kind of the guy that everybody was hyping up on the Rangers side, their striker, just played off the shoulder of Maguire because Maguire was in no man's land, sort of similar to this, if you will, where everybody, maybe not exactly to the shape. Basically, Maguire, dropped so far deep that honestly is a little bit more generous. But he dropped so far deep that he was in a 1v1, he got spun, and that was that, right? The guy was in, scored. So that's what I'm saying. These are just some examples, and this is already a 40-minute video of just covering this. These are just a few examples that happen throughout the course of a single match, compounded over the course of every match that he's in. And teams are exploiting this time and time and time and time and time and time again. And it has nothing to do with formation. I cannot stress that enough. It has nothing to do with a 3-4-3. It has everything to do with this clown's lack of... Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. What did you just see? Oh, God. Oh, God. You saw all of that. My porn collection. I don't know. I think League of Legends was in there. Whoops. But you see... the lack of discipline this guy just brings to the team, and how chaotic it makes everything, and how often we score, because again, the ball goes from the sort of central into a wide area into a central area. This is always on. If you are the opposition team and you are watching and you don't want to do your homework, I just did it for you. Just watch this video. I've unlocked the secrets. If you see Maguire in that team sheet, even if you don't, and you know De Ligt is starting, but he's not going to play the full 90, just wait until Maguire comes on the pitch in the 70th minute, and then pull this out the bag. Keep it close until the 70th minute, and then pull this out. You take the ball from a deep position. You either carry it or play it out to a wide player. You play it out wide. You maybe run a few yards, right? Because he was... around here when this play started. You run a few yards, and then you get somebody in the middle, you play it in through the middle. They're on a 1v1 of Maguire and Onana, who we won't get into, but rightly, how much confidence to a United fan if you said the last 2 players on the pitch that are standing between the opposition and a goal are Maguire and Onana? How confident are you in that pairing to keep, I'll say, a clean sheet, right? Just keep the ball out the back of the net. I guarantee you there probably aren't many fans that are going to say very confident. They're going to be like, no, that's probably a goal. You're right. That's probably a goal. That's going in. Either Onana's going to make a mistake or Maguire's going to make a mistake, but at that point, it's likely a goal. So yeah, you just start the ball central, play it out wide, carry it a little bit if you need to, pass it into the middle, cut it back, whatever. Go wide, back into the middle. Maguire will gift it to you every single fucking time. He's the gift that keeps on giving. And with that, go back here. I appreciate you. It's now 45 minutes, just about, watching this video. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe. I can't necessarily commit to regular content, but honestly, I would love your feedback on this video. Drop a comment below of what your thoughts are. Hopefully you see the same thing, and if you haven't seen the same thing, just like I've said with Bruno for many years and people are finally waking up to now, it's time to revisit the Maguire narrative. Because people saying that he's been playing well over the past few months and giving him all these plaudits, he does not deserve it. The couple of times that he clears it out of the box. Okay, great. But that's the role of any defender. The role of a defender, however, is not to sit in these positions that Maguire is and to just break your back line in the nature he does. And it is just so detrimental to us. And people really need to be alert to this. And I hope that going forward, people start recognizing these positions he's taking up and how the play develops around him and what happens next in these moments and how we've conceded time and time again because of Maguire. And we saw this before, right? I'm not even saying this is a recent trend. This is the reason Maguire was dropped. This is why him coming back into the team, we're conceding again. We're losing these matches. We're not keeping clean sheets because of him. And we look our best when De Ligt is in that central role. And Maguire is not part of the equation. So, yeah. Thank you again. Until next time. Peace.